it's the women who are like, I feel so embarrassed. And I'm like, why? Like, why should you feel embarrassed? It's like, let's get used to normalizing experts and allowing experts to come into our life, whether it's someone who is better at cleaning your floors than you, if you can afford it, whether it's someone who's better at teaching your kid how to use the toilet. Like, let's let teaching your kid how to sleep. Like, let's let experts help us and just make that feel normal because we're all going to enjoy our lives so much better.
Oh my. Telling me like what inspired you to start your business and allow it to get to where it is today. Just, like I want to know because it's hard to find a successful business, right? But also an entrepreneur behind it who is also thriving and happy in what they're doing. So if you can share that
Mhm.
experience for me.
That's a loaded question to
Yeah.
start, but I'll do my best to be succinct. I feel like for me, I always felt very confident that I wanted to be my own boss and I wanted to be able to. I'm the kind of person that needs what I think we all are all realizing we need these days is like, I need enough rest, which is now a joke because I have a child, but I need enough rest. I need to be able to take a break and go outside for a few minutes during the day. I don't want to be stuck to a computer all the time. I like working with my hands. Like I like for every day to feel different. And that is ultimately why I went the entrepreneur route because I was like, I need to be able to control my schedule as much as possible so I can thrive. And because I know I have a lot to offer, I know I have this like deep well of creativity inside of me, as everyone does. And I have to create very specific boundaries for myself to be able to thrive. So that was sort of what led me towards wanting to be my own boss. And then organizing has always come pretty naturally to me. It's a mix of creativity, it's a mix of therapy, sort of like being intuitive and empathetic to people and helping them take something that feels like a frustrating situation and turn it on its head and fix it and make it much better, right? And I found about 12 years ago that I was good at that, just doing it for friends, doing it for people I knew. I coordinated a few moves and I found that I was really good at keeping all the different pieces in my head, thinking through things from a macro perspective, and then distilling it down to the tiny details that needed to happen in the specific order to get things done as efficiently and thoughtfully as possible. And then I was like, oh, that's organizing. And a lot of people need that. And there's so many families, so many moms, so many men, so many everyone who just they have other strengths, but it's not that necessarily. And I was like, oh, great, I can do this. And so that's how Space Camp started. I just organized for one person and then they told a friend and they told a friend and they told a friend. And then eventually I started getting busy enough that I was giving quotes where I'd have to be in someone's house for 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, that's sad. I'm here on my own. Like maybe I could bring a friend and we could get done double fast. So I
Yeah.
started bringing a friend. And then that turned into having actual team members because other people who organized that were looking for work heard about me and just reached out. And it all has been so incredibly natural and has all kind of unfolded. And that's sort of how I live my life anyway. It's like I know what I want, right? And it's like, okay, I can sort of envision how my ideal day goes, how my ideal week goes. But then at the same time, it's like, I'm not sure exactly what that looks like from a practical perspective. I'm open to where life is taking me. And so that's how I just organized as my name, Julianna Strickland, for a long time. And then about 6 years ago, I was like, I need a name. And I spent a long time coming up with a name and branding and doing the whole website and all of that kind of stuff. And we launched Basecamp about 5 years ago.
I love hearing stories of how things come together organically because
Mhm.
in most cases, that organic path is what's going to help you to stick through all the years and all of the bumps because you didn't force it. You didn't,
Mhm.
it wasn't based off of I needed this. I had to do this because of
Mm,
and it was just something that flowed really well for you. You went from one person really loving what you did to someone else loving what you did, and you're like, hey, this might really work. But you're absolutely right to say that, there are a lot of people out there who are just living life and organizing is just not one of their strong points. And so
no, yeah.
take that and use that as your superpower and really parlay into something huge. But it was so smart to be like, you know what? I can save time if I have a friend and we can, hang out and do this thing that we both really enjoy together and be able to knock it out that much faster. So it's just all of the pieces coming together and it being so organic is super cool. But it speaks to just what I mentioned in the intro of this is that things are so like chill and relaxed and so casual with you because you know the end goal, but you don't force any pieces in there. You trust the process and like the pieces are going to come together. And so it makes it to where I look at you and I'm like, well, maybe the question of what kind of hardships or struggles did you find that you had to endure or surpass to continue your business and to get to this point, right? Like it
Mhm.
seems like you just did it all so gracefully that I'm like, well, were there any bumps in the road?
Oh, yeah, of course. I think there's two ways to look at the bumps, right? You can have a bird's eye view once you're past certain ones and see, oh, how everything was kind of coming together, but you couldn't see it when you were in it, right? But then there's also the ones that are currently happening that you don't know how it's going to evolve. You don't know necessarily what something is going to become. And I think that has been one of my biggest life lessons up until now. I'm the oldest of three daughters. I'm type A in some ways. Like I want things to be done well. I want things to be just so and I want to be able to control things, right?
Mhm.
Everyone does because that gives you a sense of safety. But there's a lot of things you just can't control. It's just life, right? And so I think that has been my biggest lesson and a lesson that keeps getting presented to me is that you can't control everything. So you kind of just have to take a deep breath and be as calm as possible. And the right next step will present itself, or you will figure it out, or maybe you'll take the wrong step and it's okay because you will then readjust. And that has sort of been, there's been tons of things that have been hard, like, the pandemic. We couldn't go into people's homes for months, but for some reason, I felt this like overwhelming sense of peace when I was at home with my husband baking hundreds of loaves of sourdough because I was like, for the first time ever, we're all in this together a little bit. Like everyone has the same set of circumstances. And I know that there will be challenges to this, and I know that it won't be easy, but I feel very confident that we can do it. And we did. And our team grew exponentially when we started going back into people's houses with masks on and all these different safety protocols. It was uncomfortable, but it also felt really exciting because after being home for so long, we were all just craving connection.
Be embracing all of the newness again. You get a fresh eye on how to do things better. Yeah, but then the connection as well, not just with your clients, but with your team members who you haven't been
Mm-hmm.
able to interact with in that way. What I really am interested in as the eldest of three,
Mm-hmm.
were your parents really great in guiding you in being a leader, or is that something that you had to pick up or that you learned in a previous job? Like, how did leadership look for you growing up? Or was it just I was the oldest and I knew I had to step in and do what I had to do?
I am naturally a leader in a lot of ways. I like taking on that responsibility. I like making decisions. I feel confident. I can make a decision quickly if I have to, right? Like I feel confident about that. And so I think I naturally have some leadership qualities, but also, yeah, being the oldest of three kids, you are naturally put into that position to help with the younger siblings. My parents owned a business, so I got to see them running their own business, and I really loved watching that. I thought that was really cool. And I was like, oh, I think that's probably like I always had these entrepreneur ideas.
Yeah.
When I was little, I remember my mom threw out a watermelon after, or threw out the seeds, and I was like, "Wait, why aren't we planting those and growing our own watermelons and selling them because we could be making money?" And like I've always had ideas about stuff like that. And then I think as I got older, that my family kind of looked to me sometimes to be like, okay, we gotta have dinner. What are we having for dinner? Not always, but sometimes it was like I was the one that was like, okay, here's what makes sense. I think we should do this and then do this, and this place is near where we're picking my sister up from ballet or whatever it is. And it's just like I always have had that brain a little bit.
Yeah, so it just
Yeah.
fit together really well what you do. And that's not very often that you find people who just were able to land into what their passion and what their superpower was. A lot of times it's a struggle to find
Oh
what
yeah.
you see a lot of people who have to try a lot of different things and fail in many different ways. And
Oh, I tried so many things. Just so everyone knows, though, I got out of college. I went to college for film school, but before that, I was going to go to college for music because I play violin and I play bluegrass fiddle. And I had this like I literally went to go to college, and I was going to go in Tennessee, and I had after the first day there, my family was still there, and I was up all night, and I had this like pit in my stomach, and I was like, I'm not supposed to be here. This isn't right. I don't want to be here. Don't leave me here. And I had to tell them the next morning that I wanted to give up my full scholarship. And to their incredible credit, like they were so supportive, and they were like, great, you don't need to stay here. That's great. Like write a letter, give it up, come back home, start anew. And I did that. And for someone who was, I'm a very high achieving person, like doing well in school and getting good test grades and all that kind of stuff has always been very important to me. And basically giving up my plan and saying, okay, I have no plan was both scary, but also like, okay, I mean, happiness and feeling like I couldn't continue to stay there with like, I literally had like a iron pit in my stomach and was like, I cannot stay here. This is not the right path for me. And that's when I went back home and I went to Wichita State for a year, which ended up being so wonderful. And I met so many lovely friends and I had so many cool classes. And I realized, oh, I want to go to film school. And so then that all sort of happened. I moved out to Los Angeles. I went to film school, but then I got out of college in 2008 when the recession had hit. And I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I don't know. And I was a Disney princess for 3 years, and I worked at a restaurant, and I was a nanny. I had so many different careers, and I was always getting into these sort of crises where I would like try to meditate and journal and being like, what am I supposed to do with my life? Until I realized no one's going to tell you what to do with your life. You're not going to have like this. I mean, maybe some people do have a lightning moment, but for me, it was I've always been really into this philosopher Joseph Campbell. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but we
yeah, so
studied him
you
in high
said follow
school.
your bliss,
Follow
right?
your bliss.
Yes.
And that has always been like etched in my brain. I think if I ever get a tattoo, I'll definitely get that because it has really served me well. And I think that one day I was like, you know what? You don't have to, it's not working to wake up one day and be like, this is my career. This is what I'm going to do. That's not working for me. So what I'm going to do is continuing to just say, okay, well, this next step is following my bliss. So I'm going to do that. And then this next step is following my bliss. And that has now gotten me to where I am. And I think will continue to get me to where I'm supposed to go.
Oh my gosh. So that reminds me of what Olaf and Anna was saying in Frozen 2. I don't know if you saw that movie, but
Not yet, not yet.
oh,
I've
okay.
seen the first one. It was
The first,
amazing.
yeah, the
Yeah.
first one was very good. The second one, just exactly what you said. They were really stuck in a situation, and I don't want to give any of that away, but what they came,
I think you can spoil Frozen too.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
people, it's okay.
it's been years. But I think the main point in that situation was what is the next right thing? What's the next right thing? We don't have to know the answer. We don't have to know the destination. And even like the big picture, we don't need to know any of that. What is the next right thing? Is the next right thing
Mm-hmm.
getting up, like just getting out of bed, or the next right thing just writing that email? What is the next right thing? And just like you said, following your bliss. What feels good? What can I do that makes me feel good? Because in most cases, if you follow what feels good, you're not going to be led astray. It's
Yeah.
going to be a series of good things. And then
Hmm.
even when something potentially bad comes up, you are
Hmm.
following a good thing. So the right thing will continue to happen.
Yeah.
And I love that you were so honest in saying that it didn't come immediately. You had
No,
to
no.
try lots of different things to figure out that this was right. But also, too, I love your conviction and trusting yourself because, again, when you a lot of us, especially as entrepreneurs, because there are so many different ideas that we get and we're constantly wanting to solve problems, it's really easy to go here and go there and really get confused as to what is the next right thing.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, so how did you, when you were in Tennessee, I mean, you guys were already there, it was set. How did you it was just was it practice of so many years of being reaffirmed by your family or by your actions or knowing that no matter what decision you made, it was going to be okay? Like, I guess I'm just trying to figure out, like, how are you just so sure about everything it seems, right?
I
Because
don't know that I am. I was up. I remember I was, I mean, what, I was 18 and I was up all night and I was like, I was I was sick. Like I was so embarrassed and sad and unsure, but I also was like, this is about there's I don't know if you've ever read The Body Keeps Score, and like you can really
yes,
trust your body
yes.
sometimes. And
Mhm.
my stomach was like in knots, and it just the message I kept getting was like, do not stay here, do not stay here, do not stay here. Okay, like what can I do? And that was very frustrating to me because I was like, oh, I had this whole plan and this whole path and like it's not right, but ultimately listening to yourself, like my body, I wasn't going to get to stay because I felt so sick about it. I didn't want to be there. I realized I had made a mistake. And but then it was like as soon as I admitted that, and thankfully, I mean, to my parents' credit, they were so supportive. As soon as I did that, it was like a huge cloud lifted, and I was like, oh, I'm okay. And it's just been lots and lots and lots of tiny steps of trusting my intuition. And sometimes it's wrong, and sometimes it doesn't lead me exactly where I need to go. And sometimes I know what my intuition is telling me to do, and I don't make that decision because I'm not strong enough or I'm unclear on something. But it's okay because it's all part of learning. I think I truly believe we're all here just to learn and to help each other learn and to grow. And that's sort of how I live my life. And then that's how we work with clients too in Space Camp. It's not this like, oh, you need to get organized because you should be organized. Like, I don't care. If you want to live in a messy house and you feel good living in a messy house, great, do it. Right. Like my dad always had like these piles of his stuff and he knew like where the specific scissors were. And he's like, don't touch my stuff. And now I'm like, great. He had his system. It worked for him. I don't need to mess with that. Right. So we go into situations, it's people who don't feel good in their space and they are feeling called to do something about it, but they don't know how. And so it's like following their bliss. It's like, okay, well, what do you want to be able to do in your space? How do you want it to feel? How do you want it to look? How do you want it to function? And they were like, oh my gosh, it would feel so good if I could, find my keys easily and get out the house. Or if I could get all the ingredients I need to make dinner and make dinner joyfully while I'm drinking a glass of wine and listening to music. Like I would love that versus having to spend an hour cleaning my kitchen before I can cook. Things like that, where it's like, great, these steps are going to help you follow your bliss. That's why we're doing it. We're not doing it because you should be doing something else. And so I think doing that for myself and just sort of taking, as you said about Frozen 2, like every right step, like what's the next right step? That's the only way I know how to live my life. And it has served me, I think, as an organizer too, because I can truthfully tell clients, and now my team can truthfully tell clients, like, we don't always know how this is going to fully end up, but we know that we are going to continue taking the steps with you to get to a place where everything feels better for you and functions better for you.
Oh my gosh. So much about all of that that just makes me, it feels so good. Just like the conversation. I feel like there are so many things that you've experienced in life, and you have so much knowledge, not only on how you work, but how to work with others and how to accept others as they are, but not just people, but their processes, the way they do things,
Mhm.
and all of that. To say that your dad had his process, but it was okay, but it didn't rule you or aggravate you, or like, to me,
I mean, I'm
that's
not saying it didn't aggravate me, but
how.
looking back, it's like, yeah, he had his corner of the kitchen where he
Yeah.
had all of his things, and that worked for him. And I think that is what makes me a good organizer and my team good organizers, just because we accept all different kinds of brains and understand that not everyone thinks and works the same way. And that's cool. Like, that's beautiful. And organizing shouldn't be a one size fits all solution, because what works for one person is probably the opposite of what's going to work for someone else. And it's almost like medicine or teaching or anything where you're trying to treat a problem or teach a specific way that someone can think. Like, I remember I loved geometry. I really liked math growing up. And I loved that when you're doing proofs in geometry, there were so many different ways to prove the same thing. And it was just about being creative. And maybe the way that I went to prove something would take 10 times more steps than what the teacher had done. But I remember my teacher, who also was a musician, and we would play together all the time, and that was such a beautiful, cool relationship. And I realized that, like, math is creativity, and something that we see as sort of like, the hard sciences, like science, math, stuff like that, there's so much creativity in there. And that's how we approach getting organized and kind of like living your life. Like I don't know, I also I have this idea, or there's this thing with women, right, where we are sort of expected, and this feels to me like a vestige of the 1950s housewife, where, like, in our brains we know it's like cool for women to have a career. Like, no one's expecting us to stay at home with our kids all the time if we don't want to. No one's expecting us to clean our own homes if we don't want to. But there's still something there when it comes to like running a home and being organized, that you feel like, to be a good woman, to be a successful partner, you should be able to keep your home organized. You should be able to know the right steps in which to do things to make it function properly, to make it comfortable for everyone who lives there, for your kids, for yourself. And that's just not true. Like, I think that is a fundamentally flawed understanding of what anyone, but especially someone of a specific sex, should be able to do, right? Because the amount of tiny decisions that have to be made in a specific order to get things done, even if you're just, let's say, even if you're making a one pot dinner, the amount of different decisions that have to be made, it's like, okay, first I have to make sure I have all my ingredients. Then I need to make sure I have my recipe. Then I need to make sure I have all the right pots and pans. Then I need to make sure I do things in a very specific order to get things done in a timed way where it all comes together. And like, that's just a very small example of the executive functioning that we are expecting our brains to do every single day. And then expand that as a woman, it's like, if you are a partner, if you have children to care for, if you have animals to care for, if you have a home to care for, if you have work, all that kind of stuff, figuring out the order of operations to do everything to keep your home tidy is almost impossible, truly, without systems. And so that's why it's someone like me that needs to come in, and my team, that's like, okay, yeah, of course your kitchen is messy because you don't have any systems for putting things away. Like, this is not you. This is not a reflection of you. It's literally a broken system. And that has no emotional or moral bearing whatsoever. It's just a broken system. It's the same as like a broken engine in your car, or like a broken foot, right? It's just, you didn't do anything wrong. And so taking that shame away and taking that responsibility away from people is kind of my mission in life, I think, because how are we expecting ourselves to do so much? It's wild to me. And it's like, a client of mine can be an accountant, for example, and she's like, "Oh, I can't keep my playroom clean." And I was like, "Why should you be able to keep your playroom clean? Like, you're good at your job. I have an accountant because I'm not good at that. So let me come be good at my job and do that for you, and you release the responsibility of being good at literally everything in your life."
Oh my
Sorry, that was
gosh.
a long.
No, It was so good though. It was, yes, it was
It just
long, but
makes
it
me
was
so
so
mad.
good.
It's like, why does the world expect us to be good at everything? And then the first time you fail at something, someone's like, oh, she's not good at that. And I'm like, but I'm good at 1,000 other things. Like, it's just women were put, men too, though. We have a lot of male clients that have less shame around not being organized, which is interesting, right? They're like, oh, yeah, I don't know how to organize, and that's okay. And I'll call in an expert. It's the women who are like, I feel so embarrassed. And I'm like, why? Like, why should you feel embarrassed? It's like, let's get used to normalizing experts and allowing experts to come into our life, whether it's someone who is better at cleaning your floors than you, if you can afford it, whether it's someone who's better at teaching your kid how to use the toilet. Like, let's let teaching your kid how to sleep. Like, let's let experts help us and just make that feel normal because we're all going to enjoy our lives so much better.
Oh my gosh. So I feel like it's not just cleaning or organizing your space, it's cleaning and organizing your mind with you too, because there's so
Mm-hmm.
much psychology in the things that you talk about. Um, it's not so it makes me think like before anything gets started, it's like, all right, let's have a seat, let's talk about your background and how, like what
Mm-hmm.
made you feel this way to begin with, because let's start off understanding that you are human and you are perfectly fine and wonderful exactly as
Mm-hmm.
you are.
Mm-hmm.
Just because your space isn't clean or organized doesn't
Yep.
mean anything about you. It doesn't mean anything bad or good. That's just how the space is.
Yep.
And I love that you separated the two because so many people don't know that. So many people think and they will say, the things you do are a direct reflection of you. And in some ways, that is true, but
Mm-hmm.
it shouldn't be tied to the way that you value or feel about yourself.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And I think there's and that's sort of like what's interesting is I get the question a lot is of has, with the different Netflix TV shows that have come out, with the different sort of like spotlight on organizing in the last 4 or 5 years, people are always like, oh, that's really helped your business, hasn't it? And it has, because I think there's more education going on where clients now know the terminology. They'll call and they'll be like, I need systems. And I'm like, I love that you know that. Let's dive right in, right? But I also think though there is a lot of dangerous sort of ideals happening
Mhm.
where people look at these incredibly curated spaces, which I mean, I'm guilty of that as well. I love a beautiful space. All clients want different things, and sometimes we do incredibly curated spaces. Sometimes we don't. But people in general look at all of these organized spaces and they're like, oh well, if my space doesn't look like that, it's bad, it's wrong, it's shameful. I can't let someone come over. There's this sort of myth of perfection, and there's this sort of one size fits all, and there's all these like quotes that organizers will post about like, essentially intimating that you are lazy, you are a failure if your home doesn't do this, or you've wasted too much money if you have clutter, or there's two sides of this coin where it's like one side feels uplifting and positive and working towards change, and the other side feels like very damaging to me. And I've seen it firsthand because we've gone into lots of clients' houses where they're like, I hired an organizer and it actually made me feel worse. Like I spent all this money and they put these systems in place and they don't work for me and I can't keep them up, but like there's something wrong with me. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with you. I couldn't keep this system up because it's far too fussy, and maybe it will work for one kind of person, but it's not going to work for you. And so we have to go in and undo that work and then get them back to a neutral place where then we can start over and be like, this is how we need to work together. And we actually have some clients that we have some YouTube videos, and I'll send them to you.
Yeah.
Uh, they're so cool. I love these clients so much because they really opened up their home to showing every detail, right? And there's several videos where we organized their home. We went back 6 months later, and then we did another one of the co-hosts of the show. And they had thought that they just couldn't get organized because they had tried to work with organizers before, and They felt very ashamed of how they lived and how much clutter they had. And like even a lot of the comments on the video were like, how could you possibly live like this? You're gross. Like just really mean stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's not true at all. You just didn't have the right framework with which to figure this out. And like they were ready and we were ready and we created a solution and they have stayed organized and it's been years now. And that is like the proof to me that if we can just tweak how we think about this and remove the shame, that anyone can get organized. And if they want to, if they don't want to, that's fine too, right? Like,
this is so fascinating, Juliana. Oh my gosh, I had no idea I was gonna like deep dive into really like psychology, like human behavior, the way we think, the way, and then you put this into organizing, and I'm so blown away. And I'm enjoying this conversation so much. Like I definitely would love to have you back because I'm learning so much, but at the same time, like I feel so good and validated and like it's okay that I leave these messes or that, not everything is perfect and that's all right. But at the same time, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so many ideas and places where you can like come and help. Do you also do not only homes, do you also do businesses or,
oh yes,
yeah,
we love to do businesses because organizing really can unlock productivity in you and it can really unlock like a creativity. And what's so cool is organizing businesses, not only setting up the framework so that everyone feels like they know where to put things and they know where to get things when they need them and they don't have to constantly just be like asking the office manager, like fending for themselves, right? So it just sets everyone up for success. But the other thing I love about organizing businesses, it allows me and my team to be super creative because when we're organizing homes, there's often a lot of emotional sort of
yeah.
connections and baggage around everyone's stuff. But in a business, that doesn't really exist as much, right? It's just like it feels
About
more
efficiency
neutral.
and effectiveness, right?
Totally.
Yeah. So as long
Yes.
as as long as it works, that's what everybody wants. It's a win for
Mhm.
everyone. So no, that makes
Mhm.
so much sense. You've completely sold me. I'm just like, you know what? Actually, that there is a Netflix show, and I couldn't really resonate with the show, the people that starred in the show
Yeah.
who did
Mhm.
organizing. And for me, it was just so weird because I loved the stuff they did. It looked really
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah, of
And
course.
exactly like you said, I felt like we all have to look like that and feel like that and be
Mhm.
organized in that exact way. I didn't know there was so much behind it that makes it it's just crazy. It's so cool. I love this conversation. I would love to have you on again.
Please.
If someone is listening and they're like, this, oh my gosh, Juliana is totally my girl, and I want her team to support me. How can what's the best way for them to learn more about you and reach out and potentially get a feel for what everything is going to look like and how to work with you?
Absolutely. So there's a few ways. There's our website, spacecamporganizing.com, where you can reach out and have a call with us and see all the things that we offer. There's our Instagram, which is at Make Better Space, where we are often posting stories from the day that we're in a client's house and we try to teach as much as possible.
Hmm.
And so it's not just content, it's like things that you can learn about organizing. You can DM us your questions. We post some of our favorite links to things, all kinds of stuff. So that's a great resource. And then if you live in Los Angeles, you can schedule a consultation. We can come help you in person. And if you don't live in Los Angeles, we have a course. It's also called Make Better Space. And it is 7 videos. They're taught by me. It took me a whole year. I poured every single ounce of what I know about organizing into this course. There are videos, there are audio meditations to help sort of get you into a space where you can let go of things and you can imagine a better home, a better space for yourself. There are journal entries, there are quizzes, there's shopping lists. Like it is everything you need to be able to do what my team does in person for you yourself. And this is actually the course is how we train our team members. And so they've gone through all of this. It literally lays it all out on the table, and it's such a great resource if you're looking to learn how to think the way we think and get rid of the shame and start actually making a change in your life.
Oh my gosh, that everlasting change, not just pressure to change. I will have those links attached in the show notes and the comments, and I'm so honored to be able to have this conversation with you, to have explored and learned so much in such a short span of time. So I can only imagine what your course will go through and how much I can learn from that. And everyone else listening who just feels any shame attached to the way that their space is, and to make that into something that can really empower them and feel absolutely even better, because you should feel good about who you are as you are, but have your space support you and the way that you
Hmm.
and live a much better life because you have a system in place that works well for you. Juliana, thank you so much again for being here. And I'm definitely going to have to reach out to have another conversation to go deeper into this, because I just know that there are so many people who need this spoken in this way, removing the shame and the guilt and all of that. Just so much goodness. I appreciate you. And I hope that you can go back to your little guy and your little pups and have a wonderful and lovely day.
You as well. Thank you so much. It's just, I feel like we could talk forever. So
I know,
we'll
me too.
definitely
Like,
have to
I
do
love
this
this
again.
so much. So I'm definitely going to be sending you a message.
Perfect.